there are only 21 million Bitcoin. That is the fully issued supply of Bitcoin, and that's it. So if you're getting scared out of a market, sell your other shit. Don't sell Bitcoin, because you may never get a chance to buy it back again, right? Or you'll have to buy it back higher, rather. But if you're affected by a 7, 8, 9% dip, you got to grow some fucking bulls, because Bitcoin's used to doing 35% dips. You're lucky you got into this market where there's no dips happening, right? These are not dips, right? These are just natural processes of what's going on with Bitcoin. This is not a dip. So if you're sitting there going, hey, do I get into this asset? It moves so volatile, it's so crazy. It's actually not moving as crazy as it was in the last cycle, and your time for purchasing is running out. Now, let's talk about the halving. You've got the halving coming up, and generally what happens before a halving is you see a dip in prices, right? The reason why you're seeing a dip in prices is because there's going to be some quote-unquote manipulation. Again, it's just price action. There's going to be some movement going on in the market to generate liquidity. And now you've got ETFs here. So ETFs are even more incentivized to generate liquidity for in Bitcoin for their own purchasing. So they're now incentivized to use dark pools or whatever the fuck they use in order to drive down the price of Bitcoin at the opportune time to make everybody liquidate their positions and flood the market with supply so they can acquire more Bitcoin. This is going to be the strategy for the foreseeable future. And if you stop wondering, hey, maybe I should sell my Bitcoin because this is going on, just remember one thing. It's the hardest, scarcest asset humanity has ever created. It's not like a company, right? If a company goes bankrupt, another one can be opened up, and another one can be pumped up, and another one can be blown up into a unicorn. It doesn't work like that. But ultimately, you got to take your emotions out of it and go, okay, who's incentivized here for the price to go down? Who's incentivized here to create sell pressure into the market? And how do they do that? You can use news events to do that. And by the way, if you're not familiar with high frequency trading bots, algorithms, all this other stuff, the moment you start seeing news articles saying, oh my God, Iran is attacking Israel, right? Algorithms are going to start dumping the market automatically, right? Without any human intervention, because that looks bearish, right? And as a result, you have other algorithms, as the price starts coming down, it's going to start trading and liquidating positions to maintain health of a portfolio for the asset manager that's managing that algorithm. And then obviously you've got retail, right? So retail gets screwed right at the end, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got to step out of it. There is so much positivity going on for Bitcoin right now that you need to focus on the positive side here and not on the negative side. And if you're thinking about buying, I don't think any missiles going from Iran to Israel should be stopping you. Ultimately, it is bullish. It sounds so horrible to say, but it's absolutely bullish for American markets and for American risk-on assets. And Bitcoin is definitely an American risk-on asset at this point with the ETFs coming into play. Now, we've had the Hong Kong ETFs approved as well. They haven't started trading yet, but they've been approved. And so now you've got Hong Kong's entire market able to access Bitcoin, right? At some point in the next couple of weeks when they start trading. It's a small market comparatively to the USA in terms of the ETF market. It's only $50 billion. However, it's growing. It's growing, and Bitcoin's at the forefront of that. And the Hong Kong stock market is a $30 trillion market, which is 10 times bigger than the London Stock Exchange. So, there is all of this spread out good news happening for Bitcoin, and then we see this dip happen. And here's another thing. You've got, war breaking out between Iran and Israel. And so, by the way, here's how that would work, right? The U.S. would send aid to Israel, and it would send dollars to Israel with the requirement that they buy American weapons, right? So what that means is it's basically a GDP growing methodology, GDP growing program that's going on over there, if that was the case. So it would actually be good for America. So I've just learned that when people are trying to put fear in you from any direction in the world, unless it's happening on mainland America or there is an American economic incident going on like 2008, the American markets are always going to be a buy, and Bitcoin is part of American markets now, right? Anyone wants to see, you can say what you want to say, about Bitcoin being decentralized and all this other stuff, America is driving Bitcoin at this point, and therefore Bitcoin was naturally going to be a good buy. The thing you got to realize is with Bitcoin markets, it is so easy to manipulate, and it's not really manipulation, it's price action, right? None of this is real manipulation that's going on. It is driving price action based on the narratives that are going on. It happens every day with stocks, but with Bitcoin, it's 24/7, and if you haven't got buying pressure, then it's easy to start bringing down the price or raising the price of Bitcoin on a low trading volume day, like a weekend, right? Without the ETFs in play. So, and I just wish that we lived in a world where peace was incentivized, because then I think we would achieve peace quite swiftly. As you know, my focus is always on the incentives, right? What are the incentives, and then what are the actions that happen as a result of the incentives? So, one of the things I have noticed is that you are not helping me get the Bitcoin message out hard enough. So please, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel and help me spank that algorithm, because the harder we can spank the algorithm, the faster we can get the message out there for people to get to one Bitcoin as soon as humanly possible, because this is about to run away from you. It's already run away from you from 35K up to 70K. It's about to run away from you from 70K up to 100K. But please do subscribe to the channel. And my perspective is this: you had no drones actually landing, you got no drone sightings, you got no damage being done in Israel, you got no one dying, you got none of this, and Bitcoin's down 8 or 9%. It doesn't make sense. It felt like pure opportunism to drive the market down, and it was a pretty good buy time in order to do that. And of course, within 3 or 4 hours from that point, Iran put out a statement saying our retaliation has been concluded, so therefore it's all over. And then Joe Biden spoke to Benjamin Netanyahu and told him, listen, you got to win, take the win, and that's it. And so it looked like the whole international geopolitical world sort of calmed down a little bit after that, and obviously Bitcoin bounced up again. Now here's what's happened, right? As that dumping started, a bunch of Bitcoin has been flooded onto the market. And as you guys know, if you've been watching and subscribed to the channel, you will know that when a situation like this happens, there is a bunch of excess supply on the market that must be eaten up before the price can continue to go up again. And of course, you're going to have spillover effects with people being scared once the market's open, right? So if you're sitting there on a Saturday and you own the ETF, and you can't do anything, if you're still terrified on the Monday, you're going to hit sell, and so there's going to be a little bit of short-term extra selling pressure. However, the markets are holding up quite well based on the threat of war, right? In addition to that, you got to remember, just as a side note, war anywhere else in the world besides America is good for American markets. The reason for that is simple. People, when war breaks out, people move to a flight to safety. There is a flight to safety. And American markets are the most safest capital markets in the world. Why? Because people might not like hearing this, but it's backed by the American military. Iran doesn't want to start war with the US. To me, it's complete and utter propaganda when someone says that a country, that's not China or Russia. I mean, even China or Russia, they don't want to start war with the US, right? Vladimir Putin came out on TV and someone asked him, do you want to go to war with NATO? He goes, what the hell are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? They spend 12 times more than our budget on military. Why would we want to start war with NATO? It does not make any sense. I believe that all of it is propaganda, to keep Western audiences on edge. But that's my opinion on it. And so as a result, when it comes to markets, when there is opportunities like this, most of the time, unless there's an economic incident inside of the United States, it is going to be very positive for markets. Because here's the thing, if war had broken out, the response on the American side would have been to lower interest rates, would have been to do some spending, and that would have driven asset prices up. So anytime there's anything like that where you got short short-term fluctuations in markets because of events that are happening far away from America that are not economically driven on the American side, it is going to be a buy on the American markets, asset risk on assets, etc., etc. And so yes, we're approaching the halving. We needed some liquidity. Iran said we're going to send some drones over. The drones started flying. You know, they got intercepted by British and American and I think Jordanian military within hours. The market dumped. All this liquidity entered the market, 9% down day, liquidations going on like crazy. And then suddenly the market was back up again, right? And so you got to watch out for these moments. So the ETFs are continuing to do their thing. They're buying, they're selling. GBTC's buying and selling, or mainly selling, right? Grayscale should change their tagline for their company to "We sell Bitcoin," right? Because that's pretty much what they do. I won't be surprised if Grayscale's business strategy at this point is to turn into a short-selling fund after they sell out their remaining 300,000 Bitcoin. Of course, I'm being facetious there, but you know, Grayscale selling pressure has been unbelievable, right? And it will continue at this point. So ultimately, we got a bunch of positive things happening for Bitcoin here. You got the halving coming up. You got ETFs buying up, you know, on average 3 or 4 times the current supply on a daily basis from mining, and that's about to be increased to 8 times. You got the first time ever in history that you've got supply on exchanges dwindling as we enter a halving. You got ETFs blowing up all over the place, with Hong Kong showing up now. American ETFs are ramping up. You saw, you know, BlackRock just started its you know, paid media campaign in a big way. There is a lot happening here, and then of course, if there is any war anywhere else in the world, America is going to benefit from that because of the aid/GDP program that America does, right? So it's all positive news here. Bitcoin's not been affected. The price may come down. We will see dips. Now, I will say I had a prediction of $100,000 by May 7th. I'm a little bit less confident on that one, right? I'm a little bit less confident on that one. We'll see what happens. Bitcoin has the ability to skyrocket up, but I think we're getting a little bit too close to hit the 100,000. We may get a little bit close to that, but I think we're getting a little bit too close in time to get to 100,000 fully. So on that note, remember, nothing that's happened this weekend over the last few days is bearish for Bitcoin. Nothing. There is zero that's bearish for Bitcoin. In fact, it's only getting more bullish if you understand the difference between price and value. The price of Bitcoin is coming down. The value is actually going up, because if there is instability in the world, Bitcoin is now a flight to safety. So as that happens, the price coming down means that there's a bigger spread between price and value, and that's when you should be getting in. And if you are sitting there with a few $1 million of real estate, a few $1 million of equities, and you haven't allocated to Bitcoin yet, now should be if you are actually thinking like an investor, not a trader, not retail, but smart money, now is the time that you should be buying your Bitcoin and getting to your 1 Bitcoin, because that, I believe, is the inflection point for freedom for someone, right? 1 Bitcoin. Get to your 1 Bitcoin. That's the most important thing that I think anyone could do, and gift their last name, because you will never be able to buy one. If you can't buy one, if you can just about buy 1 Bitcoin in this cycle, by next cycle you won't be able to do that, right? And that's very, very important to understand, that you are not choosing to make this decision for yourself. You're choosing to make this decision for whoever's carrying your last name, whoever's managing your wealth, whoever's managing your estate, whoever's managing your portfolio in 30, 40, 50 years time, because there's no way outside of the miraculous that you'll be able to get to 1 Bitcoin. So get to your 1 Bitcoin, stop falling for all the media bullshit, stay happy with the position that you've got, and as far as I'm concerned, everything right now is pointing bullish for Bitcoin in the next few months. But ultimately, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.